Dear students, today our topic is regarding the life cycle of Selaginella. Selaginella, the plant body is a sporophyte and it is differentiated into root, stem and leaf. Regarding the reproduction of Selaginella, there are two types of reproduction: vegetative reproduction and reproduction by spores. The methods of vegetative reproduction involves fragmentation, stem tubers and dormant buds. In fragmentation, the prostrate branches, they will develop roots, and these rooted prostrate branches, they break away from the parental plant and they will grow into new sporophyte. Some species of Selaginella, they will propagate by means of tubers, and these tubers may be aerial, developing from the apices of the aerial branches, or they may be subterranean. During favorable conditions, the tubers will develop or they will germinate into new sporophytic plant. In some other species, the aerial branches bear some dormant or rusting buds, and they will germinate into new plants during favorable conditions. So the vegetative reproduction involves fragmentation, stem tubers and dormant buds. Next, reproduction by spores. The reproductive structures seen in Selaginella, they are known as strobilus or cone, and they are developing from the apex of the main stem or branches. Selaginella, it is heterosporous in nature. It produces two types of spores. They are large sized megaspores and small sized microspores. And the megaspores are formed in megasporangium and microspores in microsporangium. In the sporangia, they are formed in the axils of sporophylls. The sporophyll bearing megasporangium, it is known as megasporophyll, and those bearing microsporangium are known as microsporophyll. And the sporophylls are arranged spirally around a central axis. The sporophylls are arranged at the apex of the main stem and its branches in a compact manner around a central axis, forming the strobilus or cone. The structure of the strobilus, that involves a centrally placed axis on which both megasporophylls and microsporophylls are arranged spirally and compactly to form the strobilus. Usually megasporophylls are seen at the basal part and the microsporophylls at the upper part. This is the megasporangium, megasporophyll, and these all are microsporophylls and having microsporangium. This is the megasporangium and microsporangium. Both mega and microsporangium, they are stalked structures having a short stalk and a capsule. The capsule is two-layered, having two-layered jacket layer. And this outer layer of the jacket, the cells are larger in size, having chloroplast. Within the jacket, there will be another layer known as tapetum. It is the nutritive layer, giving nutrition to the developing spores. And this jacket layer and the tapetum, that encloses the sporogenous cells. And the sporogenous cells, they divide and redivide to form spore mother cells. And spore mother cell undergo meiosis and produces the spores. This is the megasporangium having megaspore and microsporangium having microspores. The spores are formed in both sporangia by meiotic division of the diploid spore mother cells. In microsporangia, all the spore mother cells undergoes meiotic division and produces large number of microspores. But in megasporangium, only one of the cell becomes functional spore mother cell and all others will degenerate. And this functional spore mother cell, it undergoes meiotic division and produces four haploid megaspores. When mature, both megasporangium and microsporangium dehisces and liberate the spores. Again, microsporangium having microspores and megasporangium having megaspores. Next is the gametophyte. The plant body of Selaginella, it is sporophytic in nature. It produces haploid spores after meiosis, and this spore that represents the first cell of the gametophytic generation. This microspore develops into male gametophyte and megaspore into female gametophyte. Then male gametophyte. The microspore wall, it is two-layered, having outer exine and inner indine. This exine, it is thick and sculptured, whereas indine is thin and delicate. The spore germinate in situ, that means inside the microsporangium up to 13 cell stage. These cells are 1 prothallel cell, 8 jacket cells and 4 primary androgonial cell. Further development takes place after liberation from the microsporangium. The development, the microspore undergoes division and produces a prothallel cell and an antheridial cell. And this prothallel cell will not divide further, but the antheridial cell, it undergoes division and produces jacket cells, divides and redivides to form a two-layered jacket. Then primary androgonial cells. These cells divide and redivide to form antherozoid mother cells. Each antherozoid mother cell transforms into an antherozoid. And these antherozoids are spirally coiled and biflagellate in nature. Next is the female gametophyte. This megaspore, it is larger in size when compared to microspore, and here also the wall is very thick, having 3 layers. Outer exine, it is thick and sculptured, and middle mesospore and inner indine. Megaspore germination and development of female gametophyte, that also takes place within the megasporangium itself at a particular stage. The stage of liberation of female gametophyte from the sporangium varies in different species. In some species, they are liberated after the formation of archegonia, and in some others after fertilization, and the stage is varying with the different species. During germination, this megaspore nucleus, it undergoes division, it undergoes free nuclear division. Numerous nuclei are formed, and these nuclei are arranged around the periphery of the cell, having a large central vacuole. And the wall formation begins from the apex of the spore, and a cellular mass is formed at the apical region. And in some cases, this cellular mass is separated from the non-cellular free nuclear part by a diaphragm. Then soon archegonial initials are developed from the apex of the female gametophyte. And in some species, the liberation of the megaspore occurs at this stage. And on falling down the substratum, the exine, the sculptured exine that ruptures, and the apical cushion, it is exposed. And the sum of the cells of the apical cushion, it develops rhizoids, and these rhizoids helps for the anchorage and absorption of water for the developing female gametophyte. At this time, wall formation occurs in the lower free nuclear part of the female gametophyte, and the cells here, they will be larger in size, rich in nutrients for the developing embryo. Then soon archegonia develops large numbers in the apical region. Then development of archegonia. This archegonial initial, it is formed in the apical region of the female gametophyte. Archegonia are produced from archegonial initials. Each initial cell, it undergoes periclinal division, forming a primary cover cell and a central cell. The central cells divides to form, again periclinal division occurs and forms a primary neck cell and a primary venter cell. This primary venter cell divides and forms an egg cell and a venter canal cell. In the meantime, this primary cover cell, it undergoes two vertical divisions and forms 4 neck initials. Again, a transverse division occurs and forms 8-celled neck. The 8-celled neck having 2 tiers of 4 cells each. And the primary neck cell, it does not undergo further division and it directly functions as neck canal cell. So at maturity, an archegonium will have a neck made up of 2 tiers of 4 cells each, then neck canal cell, ventral canal cell and egg. Fertilization. Fertilization may take place even when the female gametophyte is within the megasporangium or after shedding into the ground. Just before fertilization, this neck canal cell and ventral canal cell, they disorganize and forms a mucilaginous mass. The neck cells, they will separate from each other and forms a free passage for the entry of the male gamete or the antherozoid. The liberated antherozoids, the biflagellated liberated antherozoids, will swim through water and reaches the archegonial neck, and they will enter through the neck into the egg. Only one antherozoid enters into the archegonium and fuses with egg to form a diploid zygote. Then development of embryo. The diploid zygote, it is the first cell of the next sporophytic generation. It divides transversely to form an upper suspensor cell and a lower embryonic cell. And this upper suspensor cell, it undergoes further division and redivision to form a multicellular suspensor that pushes the developing embryo deep into the female gametophyte. This lower embryonic cell, it undergoes division and redivision to forms the embryo, having a shoot apex, cotyledons, rhizoids, etc. Then this embryo develops into the new sporophytic plant. Then the Selaginella, this is the embryo seen inside the female gametophyte. This is the suspensor, this embryo proper. Suspensor pushes the embryo deep into the female gametophyte, and this lower part gives nourishment to the developing embryo. Then the life cycle of Selaginella. Selaginella exhibits a regular alternation between sporophytic and gametophytic generations. The plant body itself, it is a sporophyte. It is diploid in nature. and the reproductive structure strobilus seen in the diploid sporophytic Selaginella. It will bear megasporophylls and microsporophylls. This megasporophyll carries megasporangium. It is again diploid. Megaspore mother cells. It undergoes meiosis and produces the megaspores, that is haploid in nature because it is formed after meiosis. And this haploid megaspore, it will germinate and produces the female gametophyte that will develop archegonia. Archegonia contains the egg. The microsporophyll carry microsporangium, microspore mother cells, and this microspore mother cell undergoes meiotic division and produces microspores. They are haploid in nature, and this haploid microspore germinates and forms the male gametophyte, and it bears antheridia and antherozoids. And this haploid antherozoids or male gametes fuses with the haploid egg during fertilization and forms the zygote, that is diploid in nature, and zygote represents the next sporophytic generation, and the zygote germinates, forms the upper suspensor cell and lower embryonic cell. This embryonic cell by further division forms the embryo, and this embryo develops into young sporophytic plant. So, Selaginella represents a regular alternation between sporophytic and gametophytic generations. Selaginella shows gradual evolution towards the seed habits. Because Selaginella is heterosporous in nature. Heterospory is the first step in the evolution of seed habit. From a homosporous condition for the evolution of seed, certain conditions are required, and some of these conditions or some of these stages we can see in Selaginella. So, in Selaginella we are saying that it leads to seed habit. The first condition, that is the production of two kinds of spores which differ in structure and function. That is, we can see in Selaginella. There are two types of spores. They are megaspores and microspores. Then reduction in the number of functional megaspore in the megasporangium to 1. In some species of Selaginella, the one functional megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis and produces 4 haploid megaspores. Of this, only one become functional, all the other 3 degenerate in some species. So, reduction in the number of functional megaspore in the megasporangium to 1. Then retention of megaspore within the sporangium. This also we can see in Selaginella. The megaspore, it develops into female gametophyte, develops archegonium, undergoes fertilization, embryo formation occurs. Still, the megaspore, it is retained in the, or the female gametophyte, it is retained in the megasporangium in some species. Because of these reasons, the Selaginella approaches to the seed habits. That means it illustrates some of the earlier steps in the evolution of seed habit. That is about Selaginella. Thank you.